Hey everybody, it's Pastor Stephanie at Hartford United Methodist Church, and this is a recap of last Sunday's sermon, July 21st, 2019, and our scripture was from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, and it's a story that most of us are very familiar with, where Jesus and his disciples and all of their entourage enter into Martha, Mary, and Lazarus' house, and how Martha and Mary are taking two different stances while they're entertaining Jesus and his disciples. And so we know this story where Martha is busy making food and taking care of all of those elements of hospitality, and her sister Mary chooses to sit at Jesus' feet and listen to him teach. And I think it's very important that we understand the element of hospitality in the Bible and in this place and time, in this culture. And you can look at different instances in the Bible. There's Genesis 18, where Abraham entertains three guests, three visitors. And he goes and he has his servants slaughter an animal, and they make cheese, and they bake something like 50 pounds of bread, and they call everybody out, and they're having this feast for these three visitors. Another instance in the Bible, which I think sets the bar even higher, is in 2 Kings, when Elisha, the prophet Elisha, is traveling back and forth, and this woman, she's only known as the Shunammite woman, she and her husband open up their home to him because he keeps traveling up and down the road, and they're worried that he's going to be overtaken by highwaymen, or night will fall before he reaches his destination. So anytime he travels by, he stops at their house and spends the night with them and eats with them before going on his way. And she says to her husband, "Look, I perceive this is a man of God. We should build a room for him onto our house, just like building an addition on your home." And so they build this room onto their house for the prophet Elisha, and he's just overwhelmed and so happy at this. And so these are examples of how important hospitality was in the Bible. And so Martha is busying herself when Jesus and all of his followers show up. She's likely making them food, she's cleaning, and it could be upwards of not just Jesus and his 12 disciples, it could be more like 100 people who have come to the house, because there was always a group following Jesus around as he worked his ministry and performed miracles and such. And so Martha is a character we see, and it's very easy to say, oh, she's just being busy. She's keeping busy, and she's frustrated because her work time and her workload could be cut in half if only her sister would come and help her and stop being lazy and just sitting there at Jesus' feet. And so this is typically the part of the sermon where we discuss how we live in a busy, hectic society, and there's always so much to do, and how Jesus says, which of you, by worrying, can add any time to your lifespan? No one can. And this is where we talk about Psalm 46, which says, "Be still and know that I am God." We get that, and we know that, and we've heard it before, and it's still important for us to hear. But there's something about this scripture which makes me pause and speaks to my heart and says, yes, we do live in a time and a society that's very fast-paced, and you are seen as being more productive the more that you do, and it's quantity over quality. There's that element. But I think something we miss is that Mary was showing hospitality by giving her time and attention to Jesus and listening to him. And this is where we're told you need to take on that posture of sitting at the feet of Jesus and listening for him speaking into your heart. That it would be very uncomfortable for us today if we were to go to someone's house and and they were arguing with each other and then asking us to mediate on their behalf. And Jesus tells Martha, he says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need for only one thing, and Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. You know, Jesus tends to buck tradition in the Bible. He eats with people and visits people's homes that the Pharisees said, you don't dine with a sinner. You don't visit them at their house. You don't talk with prostitutes. And Jesus goes counterculture to all of that. And so it makes me wonder if in this scripture, we know that Mary really shouldn't be in that room with all those men who are learning from Jesus. She shouldn't be sitting at his feet. And I think that Jesus is telling Martha, you know, you're preserving this tradition. And this is really the best thing that anybody could do, man or woman, Jew or Gentile, free or slave, is to sit and learn from God. And sometimes I wonder if, like Martha, we put a high value on tradition, whether it's hospitality or keeping men and women in their respective spheres. And I think Jesus asks us to value him over our traditions, whatever that may be. Whether it's how we take communion or the type of music, whether it's played on an organ or played on electric guitar. The point is that we listen for God. We listen to Jesus. And that we keep our mission, which is to go therefore and make disciples of all nations. That's what we do first and foremost, is that we try and make more Christians. And that we don't let our traditions hinder us from that. And so I would encourage you as you go out into your places of work, to the places where you're going to learn and interact with other people, that you listen for Jesus speaking into your heart so that you can go do the mission that he sent us all on, to make disciples. Amen.